Okay, here we begin with a new unit. This is Unit 11. This is 11 and Lesson 1. So what this is going to all deal with is graphing of trigonometry. So graphing, in essence, sines and cosines. Let me go over the basics of what a sine graph and a cosine look like, sine graph and a cosine graph look like, and then we can get on to these questions. All right. So we begin with a sine graph. And so this is the origin of a graph. So the middle. Okay, so a sine graph will take up, it's called one period of 2 pi. So it starts at 0, goes to 2 pi. So the mid would be 1. Half of 1 is a half. So 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, etc. Okay. It will have a grand height of 1 and a grand depth of 1. Okay. So here is what a sine looks like. So a sine begins in the middle and ends in the middle. Okay. Begins in the middle and ends in the middle. And the middle is in the middle. It will go up and then it will go down. And then what it is just this kind of zigzaggy line. Okay. A cosine, same type of setup. Okay, same type of setup. All right, so it starts at 0, goes to 2 pi. Okay, everything is the same, height of 1, depth of -1. However, it doesn't start at the middle and go to the middle, but it starts at the top and ends at the top. Okay, that means its middle will be at the bottom, and in between those will be on this middle part. Okay, and that is a cosine graph. So sines start in the middle, cosines start at the top, but again, it will have a height of 1 and a period of 2 pi. Now, it's worth noting that if I were to extend this picture off in both directions, the graph doesn't technically stop at 2 pi. All right? But what it does is it starts to repeat itself. Okay? It starts to repeat itself after that. Things like that. All right, so that is, and it goes in both directions. Okay, so it goes off to the left and the right forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, that is a sine and a cosine. Okay, different words that you'll be seeing and needing to know. Okay, different words that you'll see and need to know. Okay, first is this word called amplitude. The amplitude is the distance from the middle to the top. All right, so kind of like half of its height. This is the amplitude. So right now, the amplitude is equal to 1. So base information, the amplitude is equal to 1. Okay. The distance that it takes to start repeating itself. Okay, so when will it start to repeat itself is called a period. And again, without anything given, the period is 2 pi. Without any manipulation to the equation, the period is 2 pi. And last but not least is this line that is in the middle. This thing is called the midline. And again, without any manipulation, that is y is equal to 0. That is y is equal to 0. Okay, so that is the basics. Now, all of this stuff can be manipulated. All of this stuff will be manipulated. And how today's assignment kind of begins is, how do I manipulate the amplitude and the period? Okay, there's other things that can be do. We can move these up and down and left and right and those sort of things. But how do I manipulate the amplitude and the period? So let's go ahead and take a moment and talk about that. Okay, let's say I have just this basic sine graph. Okay, I have a basic sine graph. So right now the amplitude is 1 and the period is 2 pi. Now you'll start to see numbers written in these various places, like a number up front or a number adjoining the x. If there's a number up front, like 3, all right? This is denoted by the letter A, and more specifically, what I kind of really need you to understand is that front number is the amplitude. So if there's no number up front, technically there's a 1 if there's no number up front. However, if there is a number up front, that is the amplitude. So the amplitude of this picture is going to be 3. And I'll show you what that means here in just a second. And then if there is a number in front of the x, okay, that is the coefficient. It's the number, but it affects the period. And here's how. Here's the only math really involved with this entire chapter. The period itself is equal to 2 pi divided by that number. Or vice versa. If you need that number and you're given the period, it'd be 2 pi divided by the period. Okay, here we are in the business of needing to know the period. All right, so what this is going to be is 2 pi divided by 4. So the period in this situation is going to be 1/2 pi. All right, so what does that mean? All right, so what I know right now is that the grand height is going to be 3. That means its grand depth is going to be -3. And this picture is going to complete itself at 1/2 pi. So that means halfway would be 1/4 pi. Half of that would be 1/8 pi. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. And then this is just a sine graph. So middle to middle, the middle goes up, and then it goes down. There it is. And so we can manipulate the amplitude and the period by those numbers. Again, the only math that is involved really is figuring out this period or figuring out the number. But it's pretty much the same equation either way. Okay, so let's go to the actual questions of today's assignment. All right, so here we have y is equal to sine x. All right, so what I see is that there's a number 8. There's no number up front, so technically it's a 1. So again, that front number is the amplitude. So I notice that the amplitude of this picture is 1. Okay, the period is where I have to do a little bit of math, and it'll be 2 pi divided by that inside number. 2 divided by 8 is 1/4. This is 1/4 pi. All right, here we have y is equal to a sine x. All right, we have an inside number of 1/2 and an outside number of 10. So I'll begin with the easy stuff. The amplitude in this case is 10. All right, now the period, again, is where you need to kind of adjust your business a little bit. So this is 2 pi divided by 1/2. When you divide by a fraction, it's the same thing as multiplying by the denominator. So technically it's like 2 over 1 divided by 1 over 2. And so they multiply. So this is technically, the top is 2 times 2. The bottom is 1 times 1. So this is going to be 4. So how I kind of cheat the system is just, if you see a fraction, you're going to multiply by that bottom number. So the period in this situation is 4. All right, to the picture, what is the amplitude in the period? Okay, so I see that it starts here, and where does it start repeating itself? It starts repeating itself right here. All right, so if I go up and to the right, where next does it go up and to the right? There it is, okay. So that is where one period completes itself. So all this other stuff is just junk. Don't worry about that stuff. All right, so from this line, what is the grand height? It has a grand height of 2. All right, and then what is its period? So if it starts here, notice that each line is 1 pi. 1 pi. So this is going to be 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. Okay, so again, here is that midline. Okay, it in essence starts here, stops here. All right, so all this other junk is just literally that, just junk. Okay, so don't worry about that stuff. Okay. So the amplitude, notice how each line is technically 2. Each line is technically 2. So if I go up 2, 4, the amplitude is 4, because each line is 2. Again, each line horizontally is 1 pi, so the period is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so write an amplitude of 3 and a period of 4 pi. All right, so, and then they want us to write a sine graph. All right, so y is equal to sine x. Okay. So if this has an amplitude of 3, that's easy peasy lemon squeezy right there. All right, that one's the easy one. Now, the other part is, again, a little bit harder. Here, we need to know the number. Here, we need to know the number. So the inside number, the coefficient, is 2 pi divided by the period. Okay, 2 pi divided by the period. And so here they define the period as being 4 pi. So I see that the pi's cancel out, and 2 over 4 is the same thing as saying 1 over 2. So the inside number is 1/2. So the period, excuse me, the amplitude is 3, and the period is now 4 pi. Okay, here we have an amplitude of 12 and a period of 7. Okay, it's not a pi, it's just straight up 7. Okay, so here we go. Wow. This is a sine graph. All right, so the amplitude is 12, easy peasy. The other part is that inside number. So the inside number is 2 pi divided by the period. And so that doesn't simplify. That is what it is. Okay, here we have a sine graph, amplitude, period. Okay, so the amplitude of 1/3, not a big deal. Okay, we need that inside number. So this is going to be 2 pi divided by that inside number, which is in essence 1/3 pi. Okay, so pi over 3 is 1/3 pi, same idea. So this, and then that means I multiply by the 3. So the pi's canceled out and the number turns into 6. Okay, before I get to which one matches, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to identify the amplitude and the period of each one of these pictures. So here the amplitude, notice how each line is 2, so this has a height of 4. Each line is 1, so this has an amplitude of 2. Each line is 2, so this has an amplitude of 4. Okay, so right now I already know the answer. All right, the period. All right, here's where it starts, here's where it stops. Each line is 2 pi. So that's 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. Here, each line, again, it starts here and stops here. Each line is 1/4 pi, so like 1/4 pi. So counting the lines, that's 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. So that goes to 4/4 pi, which is AKA 1 pi. So I just keep counting fourths, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Okay, this is technically, it's really hard to see, but this is pi over 8, or AKA 1/8 pi. That's what that is right there. Took me a long time to kind of figure that out. So counting this up, again, it starts here, stops here. So that's 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8. So this goes to 4/8 pi, which is AKA 1/2. Okay, so taking a look at what we have from our equation. So I notice that the amplitude of this one is 2, and the period is going to be 2 pi divided by 2. So 2 simplified, and so this is technically 1 pi. So an amplitude of 2 and a period of 1 pi, that is obviously B. Okay, same idea. So here we have an amplitude of 4, period of 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, so 1/2. Amplitude of 2, period of 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. Amplitude of 4, period of 2, 4, 6, 8. From here, we see that we have an amplitude of 4 and a period that is 2 pi divided by 4, which is 1/2 pi. Okay, amplitude of 4, period of 2, 4, 6, 8. Amplitude of 4, period of 1, 2, 3, 4, so 4/8. Amplitude of 2, period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 4/4. Here we see that we have an amplitude of 4 and a period which is going to be 2 pi divided by 1/4. So again, that is in essence a multiply of a 4. And so that's going to be 8 pi. So amplitude of 4, period of 8 pi. It's that option right there. Okay, that's sines.